It is pretty crazy, however, that yes, the person, and you can't wait. Where is it? I mean, Charlie Kirk had on numerous occasions, not just in 2023, numerous occasions had said guns are unfortunately worth it to keep the Second Amendment. The person who inevitably advocated for his own demise. (1:36 p.m.) Fox 13 Salt Lake City has spoken with an official from the university who said the school has surveillance video of the shooter leaving campus. That's crazy, man. I can't believe
what he was doing was
Scott
the opposite
Jennings.
of what's
Shut the
happening.
up, dude. Oh my
What's
God, I
happening to him
hate
is
Scott
violent.
Jennings so much.
But he was using his words and his speech, which is our first protected freedom in this country. And so we're going to miss Charlie, and we pray for his wife and those babies. He leaves behind a young family. You know, people like this who exist in the public sphere, we know them as public actors, and we see them in front of crowds, and we see them on TV, and we hear them on the radio. But they go home at night too, and they open a front door, and they hug a wife, and they hug children, and they put them down, and they oversee the toothbrushing and everything, just like the rest of us. And so there's that side of them that we don't often think about, but Charlie was doing that too. So I just think in moments like this, it's easy to analyze the politics, but you know, there was Charlie the husband and Charlie the father, and he'll be missed forever.
Bro,
since we've just learned of this, I think it's absolutely
the craziest aspect of this, of course, is that like people try to say like, oh, this ultra violence is coming from the left, all violence is coming from the left. If it's actually a 200-yard shot, that you know narrows the window of possible shooters quite a bit. Okay, because like the reality of the matter is a real-time 200-yard shot.
Well,
you know, there are people, of course, plenty of people capable of doing that. They have served in the military.
We had a lot of these conversations after President Trump was nearly assassinated.
It's just not that you know that narrows the background of the
America. We've always
background of the shooter quite a bit.
Persevered through even dark moments like this one. You know, I think there are a lot of people though who have given up on politics and have turned their hearts to violence. And one of the legacies of Charlie, in my opinion, is that politics is good.
AP
politics
has a graphic
is
of the
to each other.
shooter.
Politics is
University stated the shooter fired from
conservatives
the
and liberals
Lucy
and
Center.
Republicans and Democrats
Kirk was speaking
debating
here
and
about
reasoning
200
with each
yards.
other.
It
Maybe we
literally
don't
is a
agree.
200-yard shot.
But when you walk
that's what it's supposed
into
to
a conversation and you debate.
Oh my God! Shut the fuck up, Scott Jennings. God, I can't stand this. Okay. I spoke briefly with President Trump over the phone. Here's what he said about Charlie Kirk. It's horrific. It's one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. He was a great guy, he said. He was an incredible guy. Nobody like him. Dude, that is a crazy shot. We don't know. We don't know exactly. I mean, this is the suspicion, I guess. That's what the New York Times reported as well, 200 yards. But it's a crazy distance for a shot like that. Authorities, just in from AP. Authorities are still searching for the suspect in this Charlie Kirk, mayor says. That is nuts. ABC special report. No Scott.
Young people into the fold.
Yeah, absolutely, David. The president himself did give
a
lot of credit along the way, of course, leading up to his win in November on the campaign trail. In fact, he gave Kirk a lot of credit, if not most of the credit, for a lot of that younger vote and for mobilizing a lot of those voters to go out and vote for him. I know the multiple times I've been over at the White House, I've witnessed Charlie Kirk there in the West Wing talking to advisors, of course, not a formal advisor. He was responsible, David, for helping with a lot of the vetting of the top cabinet officials and had a lot of input. He was one of those people right next to Trump in a lot of these meetings in his ear, and Trump was taking his advice. It wasn't just the White House, it was across government agencies, the Department of Justice. I know Kirk was very close with the Attorney General, with the Deputy Attorney General, so he did have quite an influence within the administration, even though he wasn't so outwardly seen, if you will, at these agencies.
Catherine Falder is with us from our Washington Bureau. Catherine, we appreciate you and the team and the reporting here this afternoon on a very difficult story. Again, Charlie Kirk, co-founder of Turning Point USA, was shot and killed in Utah at a campus event, to the horror of the thousands who had gathered there. He was in the middle of what has become a trademark for him at these visits, in the middle of a debate, of sort of back and forth questions being asked of him. I want to show you there was a moment of silence on the House floor in Washington for Charlie Kirk just moments ago. Bipartisan calls to calm this down, to bring the rhetoric down in this country. Again, there was a moment of silence that came.
Dude, by the way, right-wingers saying, oh, we got to tone down the rhetoric once again is an insane statement here, okay? It's like people who perhaps are most responsible for setting up an environment where violence and instability is the norm for everyday Americans, okay? People who have set up an environment where there is just no solution to unlimited gun violence every single day, where parents send their children to school and there's no guarantee of their safety, and some experience exactly what the Republicans, the fear and anger that the Republicans are currently experiencing because they knew Charlie Kirk. Regular people experience that, unfortunately, all too frequently. Okay. Meanwhile, while they're talking about toning down the rhetoric of violence, Elon Musk, the owner of this website, took no time, like didn't even wait for the confirmation of Charlie Kirk's death. They immediately go, the left is the party of murder. 2 months ago, a psychopathic right-winger, a far-right evangelical Christian, had a hit list of numerous Democrat politicians. He went into the homes of Democrat politicians in the state of Minnesota, and he shot and killed 2, and he tried to kill more. Okay? And these guys immediately said, oh, he was a leftist. He was actually Tim Walz's guy. He was Tim Walz's top guy. Made no sense. Tim Walz was literally a part of the assassination hit list. And people still ran along with that narrative. There's no confirmation of the shooter's ideological background or whatever. None of that. But it doesn't stop these demons from immediately saying, oh, it's the left that's doing this. It's the left that's doing this. It must be a leftist that did this. So spare me the bullshit about toning down the rhetoric when this is the common meta. It's so ridiculous, man. Yeah, there was just a story about an American-Israeli sniper admitting to killing multiple civilians in Gaza and no one cared. Yeah, dude from Naperville, Illinois, flew out, had his family fundraise so he could get weapons to children that he openly said he did in Gaza. Doesn't even reach a blip. That kind of violence, by the way, does inevitably come back here, okay? That's my point. My point is, America is an incredibly violent nation all around the world. We are so violent. We're a constant presence, a constant force everywhere. That has a tendency to normalize these kinds of incidents here as well. Video posted on social media shows the moment Charlie Kirk was shot in the seconds leading to the incident. Kirk was being asked questions about mass shootings in America. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America in the last 10 years? A person asked. Counting or not counting gang violence, Kirk responds right before he is shot. That right there is America perfectly described. Okay? Because the irony, the dark irony of this sequence of events is that it is that mentality that stops people from even seeking the truth about how, or seeking solutions on how we could stop gun violence in this goddamn country. And in the process of actively continuing to debate the importance of having every American be armed to the goddamn teeth, Charlie Kirk got shot by another teeth, and now he's dead. And now Republicans turn around and talk about the violence of the violence of people are talking about the toning down the rhetoric. The very same people who never toned down the rhetoric. Crazy. Politico reports a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk on the House floor just now quickly devolved into chaos and yelling. With every lawmaker standing up in quiet observance, Representative Lauren Boebert demanded a spoken prayer. Silent prayers get silent results, she said. Everything is a performance for these people. Okay? Everything. Look at this. That's a performance. She is trying to get her 15 minutes in the spotlight. Silent prayers get silent results, she said, leading to jeers from Democrats with some shouting about a school shooting that also happened Wednesday, which is also true. There's a school shooting that took place while this is happening. You understand? Representative Anna Paulina stood up and started shouting expletives at the Democrats before Speaker Mike Johnson gavelled lawmakers down. This is disgusting, said House Republican granted anonymity to react candidly to the clash. Stephen Miller's already on it. Our hearts are shattered. America has lost one of its greatest champions. A loving family has lost the most extraordinary husband and father. All of us must now dedicate ourselves to defeating the evil that stole Charlie Kirk from this world. I agree, except I think our understanding is very different about what the evil is that took out Charlie Kirk. Because I don't think he means gun control. I think he is just looking to see which marginalized population he can blame this on. Maybe the entire left. It is pretty crazy, however, that yes, the person, and you can't, wait, where is it? Charlie Kirk had on numerous occasions, not just in 2023, numerous occasions had said gun are unfortunately worth it to keep the Second Amendment. The person who inevitably advocated for his own demise. I don't know if we'll ever actually get Republicans to understand this. I don't think they will. I don't think they'll understand it. They didn't understand it when Steve Scalise was shot at the congressional baseball game. They didn't care about it. Steve Scalise himself personally continued to be a strong advocate for freedom to purchase weapons. In honor of Charlie Kirk, a truly great American patriot, I'm ordering all American flags throughout the United States lowered to half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. That's okay. They didn't understand the dangers of COVID when Herman Cain died. They just don't care. They don't care. Brandon woke up. Even Brandon had a statement about this. There is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now. Jill and I are praying for Charlie Kirk's family and loved ones. I don't know. Part of me thinks that the Republicans will try to use this as an opportunity to do insane shit. Part of me worries about the vengeance quest that I suspect some people will go on in the aftermath of this. And I, of course, recognize that, this puts, a lot of people that I know and even myself in the crosshairs. But beyond that, beyond the adventurists and people on a vengeance quest that might choose to take matters in their own hands, there's also obviously the administration and what they will do in the aftermath of this incident. It's also worrisome. But yeah. I will say, from my perspective, as someone who does like live streams and events such as that one, the only times when there's like weird shit that happens in those live streams is always in a red state. Now, of course, I'm not a conservative commentator. I'm a leftist, and maybe that's the reason. But the only time I've ever had like weird experiences when doing IRLs is if I'm in the state of Texas, even in a blue area, still a red state, or in Nevada. So, I don't know. Ben Shapiro's statement, like all of you, I'm utterly stunned and heartbroken and sick to my soul today. It is unimaginable to write these words. I met Charlie Kirk when he was 18 years old, a young man so eager and determined that I immediately turned to a friend and said, that kid's going to be the head of the RNC one day. Charlie became even bigger and more important than that. It was a privilege for beliefs to create the single most important conservative political organization in America, but more importantly, Charlie was a good man. Oh my God. A man who believed in right and wrong, who stood by his biblical values. All of us will miss him, and I can't imagine the pain of his beautiful young family. We all must pray for them, and we must pick up the baton where Charlie left it. I think when these guys say, like, we must pray, like thoughts and prayers, it almost feels like it always feels so hollow. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't think it comes from a sincere place. They might genuinely think it's coming from a sincere place, but it feels so empty. It feels like we just don't want any solutions to this. That's what it translates to me as. And it's not because like, oh, I'm not a very spiritual person. That's not the reason. It almost feels like you kind of recognize that this is impossible to contend with. So you're just basically saying like, oh, we should pray. We should pray for this person. We should pray for this. We should pray for that. It just, I don't know. And we must pick up the baton where Charlie left it, fighting for the things he believes in so passionately. We must fight for a better America. Like it almost feels like you're saying that because you kind of recognize that there's no solution that you would want to advocate for. And therefore you're just kind of looking for like the correct thing to say in this moment. That's what it feels like. This shit hit the coworker sphere. Oh yeah. In America, where good people can speak the truth and debate passionately without fear of a bullet. I weep for Charlie's family and I weep for my country today. Most of all, I weep for Charlie. Yeah, well, now we know where they're going to go with this. Laura Loomer says, it's time for the Trump administration to shut down, defund, and prosecute every single leftist organization. If Charlie Kirk dies from his injuries, his life cannot be in vain. We must shut these lunatic leftists down once and for all. The left is a national security threat. You guys, under different circumstances, I would say this is an insane person. But unfortunately, we live in insane times, and Laura Loomer has been able to actually get a lot of initiatives passed in this administration. She does have, I'm afraid, a lot more motion than you would expect. Not only does she have the ear of the president, she's been able to bully Marco Rubio, for example, into taking actions. And while we have no idea what this person's background is, what the person's, like, the shooter's ideological motivations were, even if they were leftists, this would be a ridiculous fucking response, especially considering we've never been able to shut down neo-Nazi organizations in this fucking country when they are responsible for the overwhelming majority of mass shooting incidents that take place. Far-right anti-government extremism is and has been the largest ideological background of all of the domestic terror incidents on U.S. soil since 9/11. Okay, it's not even close. Nothing comes close to it. And yet, no initiatives are ever taken in terms of, like, tackling this problem ideologically. No initiatives are ever taken in terms of tackling the problem materially, like gun control, something that Charlie Kirk himself was, of course, very much against. But instead, I suspect that the administration will use this as an opportunity to basically go after as many people as possible that they have declared enemies, ideological enemies. Yeah, not great. A local mayor urges people to report anything as suspicious as shooting suspect remains at large, by the way. Mayor David Young of the north central Utah city of Orem says several local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies are working the investigation, with the suspect in Kirk's fatal shooting remains at large. He says police in Orem and at Utah Valley University are among many agencies involved in the investigation. Meanwhile, authorities have told anyone at Utah Valley University to secure in place after Wednesday's shooting. What is this? What the hell is this? Yeah. What Laura Loomer is doing in this, what Laura Loomer is doing there, for the record, as far as, like, making this an opportunity, is identical to what took place with Horst Ludwig George Erich Wessel. He became a symbol of propaganda in Nazi Germany after two members of the Communist Party of Germany, KPD, killed him. Now, there is no evidence as to who the shooter was. There is no evidence as to their background, but it doesn't even matter, because it's clear to me that at least people with tremendous influence over this administration will try and use this as an opportunity to stamp out any kind of progressive movement in this country.
Like someone else said before, you didn't have to pay for them, and honestly, you didn't have to show them at all. People could just walk in, set up where they wanted to sit, and watch everything. So yeah, no security. I will say there were some police on campus, but not checking people walking in, not, scanning for metal, none of that.
Did that surprise you in the moment, or are you kind of thinking about it now?
Honestly, no. I mean, I think there definitely should have been security, but no, it seemed like, just a great hangout for everybody to hang out with Charlie and, ask him questions, because he's so laid back and he'll talk to you about anything. So I don't know. I guess now, now we know you definitely need to be having a little bit more security.
Well, and I think that was part of Charlie Kirk's appeal, right? That he did want to engage with people. And it was not like he just wanted to engage with fans. He wanted to engage with people that had differing views of his. We've watched these campus events for a while now, and he's traveled the country. This was his first stop. What kind of mark does that leave? I mean,
it's intense. I think, honestly, even though he's gone, he is making such a massive impact on the community, not only in Utah, but across the world, because he was doing God's work. And
Okay. I don't.
Really pioneered a new model for merging political activism and point of view media. I mean, he was envied by many of his rivals on the left for what he was able to build with Turning Points. You know, he was like a pastor and a political organizer and a radio host and a YouTuber and a TikTok influencer and a nonprofit leader, all in one.
Yeah, I mean, it's expected. They're gonna, the media is going to,
as a result of this sickening murder. Accessibility was really one of his virtues, Jake.
from the left and the right, the media is going to martyr, present Charlie Kirk as a martyr.
Tour in Utah today. He had at least a dozen other tours.
They're going to talk about it in like completely non-ideological ways. They are going to talk about him as an incredibly skillful communicator, an organizer, and I do think that
I looked it up. I want to read his words because
I do think that this will. I mean, yeah, he is. Like, my expectation is not that they just like fucking shit on him. Obviously, that would be crazy. But
gathered around him, around that tent, and around his security. So this
I
is a
think
huge loss for Turning Point USA. As he recently said to a Utah newspaper just a few days ago, quote, "We want to be an institution in this country that is as well known and as powerful as the New York Times, Harvard."
Hasan Piker, progressive
we believe we are creating
influencer, says only gun control could have saved Charlie Kirk. Among those coming to terms with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk on Wednesday is a progressive streamer, Hasan Piker, who was scheduled to debate Kirk at Dartmouth College in 2 weeks. On his Twitch live stream, Piker expressed horror at the shooting and urged followers not to celebrate it, but told viewers to stop writing in to tell him to wear a bulletproof vest or hire security for his public appearances. "I don't have any security," Piker told his viewers. "It shouldn't be like this." He went on to argue that only gun control could prevent mass shootings. "In a moment like this, a reasonable government would say, all right, enough is enough," Piker said. "If we had a responsible government and not a bunch of fucking psychopaths running the show," he added. "The U.S. would already have had serious gun control following the massacre of Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut in 2012. I need to really reconsider the way I do everything outside for the foreseeable future," Piker said. "Before people say wear a bulletproof vest again, he got shot in the neck. A bulletproof vest would not have saved Charlie Kirk. The only thing that could have potentially saved Charlie Kirk," he added, "was if our administrations prior to this one and this one as well actually had reasonable gun control as a policy position in the aftermath of, I don't know, 100 other school shootings."
Think about the time around Barack Obama's re-election. Kirk was a grassroots activist, barely 18 years old, launching his organization, gaining connections within the Republican movement before it became the Trump movement. And he was an early ally of now Vice President J.D. Vance. The two men had a very close relationship, and Vance was one of the very first Trump officials that we heard from when word of this shooting broke. It does speak to this generational moment in politics where Kirk was helping to get hundreds of people out to college campuses, sometimes very blue, very lefty college campuses. There would be controversies, there would be protests and counter-protests, and that's partly what Kirk wanted. You know, one of the names for his tour was the Prove Me Wrong Tour. He didn't shy away from talking to folks from the other proverbial side. He wanted to engage in that debate.
No, I mean, come on. He was cutting propaganda and you know, only talking to people that he could bully viciously and cut propaganda and state their like ideological opponents as like hysterical people that don't know anything. It's not like this was an honest attempt to like truly understand the other side's perspective. This kind of framing is also indecent in my opinion. Like, there's no reason. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my brain is broken, but I don't think that there is any reason to just, you know, launder the reputation of someone in the aftermath of their untimely demise in an effort like with completely fabricated positions.
Kirk as a Trump whisperer and someone who worked as much behind the scenes as in front of the camera. You know, I said earlier that Kirk is a little bit like a new age Rush Limbaugh in terms of his power in the media marketplace, dominating online and on the airwaves. And Kirk was able to do that in a way where he was talking behind the scenes, talking directly with President Trump and his allies, and then going on the radio or his podcast for hours at a time. And in the way that it works now, you know, he was able to connect on YouTube and TikTok, on Instagram and on old-fashioned radio all simultaneously. It really magnified his power as a movement leader, and that's what stood out to me a few minutes ago. Max Rose saying this is an assassination.
Yeah, my expectation is not that they be disrespectful, but you don't have to lie. You know what I mean? Like,
leader being gunned down in the middle of a university courtyard.
No, horrific. Brian, stand by for us. New video shows conservative activist Charlie Kirk today, just moments before he was shot and killed. Again, he was at Utah Valley University in the state of Utah attending a campus tour stop with Turning Points USA. It's the conservative youth organization he founded about 13 or so years ago. I want to bring in CNN's Kristen Holmes, who's at the White House. And Kristen, we heard the news from President Trump not long ago. He was the one that broke the news to the world that Charlie Kirk had been killed, was dead.
You said earlier people feel so safe in Japan because of gun control. Why don't people say that about other countries that have gun control? Is there a chance that it's both a culture issue and a gun control issue? No, it's definitely still a gun control issue because even people that go to like London or Paris, places where they say there's a lot of crime happening, there's a lot of violence happening. When Americans go to those places, they talk about how they feel still much safer than they do in other American neighborhoods. I mean, think about all the TikTok memes that have come out of like, when you get stood up by a British gangster, you know what I mean? Versus what it looks like in the United States of America. Obviously, there are other factors at play here as well, but one of the most significant components here that makes everything less safe is, of course, easy access to guns.
They spent an enormous amount of time with. Brian alluded to this during the transition. Charlie Kirk spent most of his time in West Palm Beach, Florida, in Palm Beach, meeting with the different teams, meeting with the candidates, talking through the nominations. He was an integral part of the campaign, of getting Trump elected, and of the people who are currently in positions of power. And that's why you're seeing such a sadness and a disbelief from so many people close to the president. And when it comes to talking strictly about his influence and his power within Washington, I mean, one of the things that this is somebody who had a direct line to President Trump, who could voice his objections to President Trump at times, could voice what he thought was important and not being covered enough by the administration. He spoke to many, if not all, of the cabinet secretaries directly. He had a finger on the pulse of the MAGA movement, even more so than some people who are here in Washington who got government positions. If you look at the crowd that had gathered around Kirk, that was just one example of the kind of crowds that Kirk would draw. He was truly a movement leader, as we've heard. He would bring thousands and thousands of people together, and that was why he was so critical, beyond just the personal, to the campaign, to President Trump. He was the one who really
what the fuck?
Crossed him over the finish line.
You can't hate the media enough. Good afternoon. I was wondering if Charlie Kirk getting shot affects their position on campus scary. If gun control had been in play, could the tragedy have been avoided?
It was a huge part of President Trump's strategy. So there are a lot of different levels
AG
of all of this. The
from his
influence,
position
the
at
power, the connection
Florida
to the
politics.
base, but also the family and the relationships that Charlie Kirk had built with all of the Trumps. We have seen the children responding each individually about their relationships with Charlie Kirk, saying to pray for him and his family. Again, he was a fixture here in Washington, even though he doesn't live here, because he was constantly coming in to sit for the swearing-ins of various officials, because those officials were the people he was close to. So this is a great loss for this White House, not just for the MAGA movement, but even personally for the people who are inside the building there.
Yeah. It's tough.
Kirk's killing follows political violence elsewhere around the country this year.
There are people watching right now who are only kind of peripherally, or maybe even not even aware of who Charlie Kirk was. Ask your kids, ask your grandkids. Even if they're not MAGA, if they're on phones, they know who Charlie Kirk is. Teenagers, people in their 20s, they know who Charlie Kirk is. Even if they disagree with him, they know who he is. He really was a voice for this young generation. Again, even if they didn't agree with him. Kristen Holmes, stick around. I want to bring in David Urban now, former Trump campaign advisor. David, I'm sorry to be talking to you under these conditions. What are you hearing from your friends and your colleagues, people who know and follow Charlie Kirk right now? Tell us what people are going through.
Yeah, you know, Jake, it's a tragedy for America, not just for the Republican Party or for MAGA, Jake, as you know. I met Charlie back in the 2016 during the 2016 race, and used to joke with him. You know, he was an Eagle Scout. He's an all-American kind of boy. Wanted to go to West Point. I went to West Point, so he and I joke about that. But he was doing it the right way, Jake. You heard Brian Seltzer.
Oh my God. Okay, first of all, the West Point is actually an incredibly important aspect of Charlie Kirk's media career, because when he was in high school, he wanted to go to West Point and he couldn't get into West Point. So he wrote he wrote in the high school newspaper, I believe, an article about how a black girl had actually taken his spot. He had no evidence for this, of course, but he wrote that article and then it was published on Breitbart. Once this article was published on Breitbart at the age of 18, immediately he became a conservative a conservative spokesperson. Okay, I use Charlie Kirk's career as an example of how the right-wing media machine plucks people randomly from all around the country, no matter how old they are, and immediately turns them into like spokespersons for the cause. Charlie Kirk then took on this newfound fame from Breitbart all the way to Fox News, because there is a tremendous amount of vertical integration here. And he went back to Foster Friess. He went back to Foster Friess, who was someone that his father knew, okay? And he begged him for money to start Turning Point USA with the express purpose of turning basically like a super PAC for college and high school student government bodies. That was the initial purpose of Turning Point USA. He went to a bunch of conservative mega donors and said, give me money and I will go and change the outcome of student government bodies. That was how Turning Point USA was created. Okay? The reason why I'm very familiar with Charlie Kirk, of course, is because the reason why I'm very familiar with Charlie Kirk is because both Charlie Kirk and I became relatively famous, known figures in the exact opposite side of the political spectrum around the same time. He was presented as like the alternative universe, like the bizarro version of myself, and I was presented as the opposite to him. That's why we debated a bunch of times. But of course, his career took on an entirely different fucking it went to a totally different place as opposed to mine. And this is actually an example that I use regularly to tell you, like, there is a difference in the way that right-wing political operations work versus liberal and Democratic parties' political operations work. His trajectory was vast. It was super fast. And he just kept building on it and became an institutional power. Okay? As opposed to the Democrats on the other side would never, ever in a million years offer similar opportunities to those on the left, those on the liberal side even. No, we didn't have the same demos of audiences, for the record. We didn't. I had a younger audience. Charlie Kirk never had a young audience until recently. Until this last election cycle with the TikTok initiative, Charlie Kirk was not a known entity amongst young people. That's not true. Charlie Kirk, for the longest part of his career, as a matter of fact, did not have any young people in his audience whatsoever. He just simply presented... he was basically the Olivia Giuliana of the Republicans, getting a bunch of money from mega donors, but much more successful than Olivia Giuliana, given the way that the Republican media ecosystem operates, as opposed to the Democrat one. But until recently, he was just like he just kept farming donations from old people who didn't know any better and thought that he was actually able to reach a much younger crowd and change their minds. Of course, this is not factoring the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years of his career, because once they started doing these TikTok initiatives, he did certainly draw much younger crowds. Okay, TikTok was what gave Turning Point USA actually a young audience, and it perfectly corresponded to Gen Z attitudes about Trump as well. They had a much different perspective about Trump. They had not experienced, I guess, like COVID, or at least during the COVID lockdowns, they developed negative attitudes towards the Democrats because they saw Democrats, I guess, as the responsible party for these lockdowns and whatnot. And eventually you saw this right-wing swing, and Charlie Kirk was right there and was the guy that took advantage of this right-wing swing, and also the advantage of the medium, the new medium for political propaganda, TikTok. Okay? But before then, since 2012 onward, and especially past like 2016 all the way into, like, I would say 2023, Charlie Kirk had no prominence amongst the youth. It was only after like 2023, 2024 and the election cycle did he actually reach a much broader, younger audience. Turning Point USA was entirely comprised of, the only young people that you saw at Turning Point USA events were just young people that wanted to be a part of the Republican machine. Those were the attendees. It wasn't just like average normies and whatnot that were, it wasn't anything beyond like it wasn't anything beyond the young American, the YAF, young conservatives on campus type people that were aware of Charlie Kirk and Act Point USA. I'm worried. I'm worried. That's all I can say in this moment. There's a video of the new unidentified person spotted on a nearby rooftop before Charlie Kirk was shot. Suspect still at large. I don't know if this is a confirmed. This seems, unconfirmed, so I don't know. I'll wait for additional confirmation instead of just like, are you more worried about Trump or random vigilantes? I'm worried about both. There's good reason to worry about both. Sky's the limit here in terms of the unlimited cruelty that we can experience, Utah has no gun control on campus. Yeah, there's a White House proclamation ordering flags flown at half-staff until sunset on September 14th in honor of the memory of Charlie Kirk. As a mark of respect for the memory of Charlie Kirk by the authority vested in me as the President of the United States, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order the flags of the United States shall be flown at half-mast at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds, at all military posts and naval stations. It's kind of wild that Trump didn't do that for the Minnesota shooting. Yeah, of course he didn't do that for the Minnesota shooting, because the Minnesota shooter was a fucking far-right figure and a mercenary who assassinated Democrats. That's it. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand on this 10th day in September in the year of our Lord 2025, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 250th, Donald J. Trump. How do I think them should respond? I don't even know. I don't know how they're going to respond, but I suspect it's not going to be a positive one. And I do worry that they're not going to take a defensive posture against the unlimited political repercussions that the left will experience as a consequence of this, even though there is no evidence to suggest that this was even done by the left. And even if it was, it still doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Political violence, unfortunately, has ramped up in this country. I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country, and I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. It's true. What the fuck? What is this audio? What is happening with this audio? Can you guys hear it? Is the tab muted? No. What the fuck? Is my shit busted? Let me see.
Utah, and this is, as he
no,
told me,
my shit's not busted. It's just that video. It's fine.
He said is a very painful moment for not just him, but for his community as well.
This is my backyard. This is very, very personal because of that. Yeah, it really is escalating. We know that. I think it's time for all of us to reevaluate how we're talking about issues. I think that if we're honest, we're having conversations within families that are too heated. We're having conversations among friends that are too heated, and then that obviously escalates as it gets to a broader conversation. It's not healthy. It's not who we are.
When I was in college, you used to be able to walk in those doors and just walk right into the Capitol. And it didn't have any of the security. Obviously, airports were the same. And the more we just have this like sickness in society, the more we have to clamp down, and the more you have to have, security barriers. And lock down our society because people are just sick.
And also, just after that moment, the Speaker of the House tried to ask for a moment of silence, ultimately did get a moment of silence. But before that, there was a back and forth that occurred between Democrats and Republicans as one Congresswoman tried to ask for a prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family. That led to some back and forth about some of the political violence that we are seeing in this country, just showing just the raw emotion and the tension that is happening right now, particularly in the aftermath of all this, as members grapple with this, particularly ones who are very close to Charlie Kirk. He had a lot of allies in the GOP side, particularly in the House over the years, and they're feeling this very personally, Jake.
He and Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson of Louisiana, very close friends. Manu Raju, thanks so much. Just in, a law enforcement official confirmed to CNN that there remains an active manhunt for the person responsible for this apparent assassination. And the initial search, they say, did not recover any sort of firearm. Much more as we cover this story. Stay with us.
Tonight on 360. The stories that matter. Anderson Cooper 360.
I can't believe there's still a fucking active manhunt. That's crazy. It's wild.
Moment of silence.
This is a moment, in fact, when you see leaders across the political spectrum coming together. While they may not agree with all of the political positions, the social issues, and they all agree that this is not what our country is about. They are condemning this act of violence, saying this is something that should never happen in our country. As you mentioned, there is that somber moment on the House floor as we continue to see this outpouring of just outrage and grief and condemnation from leaders all across the political spectrum, Kana. This is just really an unbelievable moment.
And, you know, Selena, I've spoken with several witnesses who were there, and many of them were there just because they wanted to be there. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to see him speak. But others who say, I had a question for him. I was lined up. I was lined up with people to ask questions. And what they pointed out, Selena, that was even in the line, because of the area that Charlie Kirk had created, they were having lively debate, back and forth debate, Republicans and conservatives in this line together.
And Charlie Kirk was known for sparking that kind of conversation. He has so many viral moments online with his millions and millions of followers for all of them to view, where he has these sparring debates with students who are very progressive, who clash with his views, and he'd like to have these kind of rapid fire conversations. I mean, Turning Point USA, they are across the country. They go to these high school campuses, college campuses. He is an advocate for this conservative movement, for reaching this young base and mobilizing them to become part of this MAGA movement. But it wasn't just about spreading those ideals, but also debating with people who have wildly different views than he has. And he was very effective at using that and turning it into this media empire online through his social media videos, through his podcasts. He's really was seen as one of the most influential MAGA podcasters and right-wing influencers in general.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about his appearance on Governor Newsom's podcast. I mean, Governor Newsom chose him to launch his podcast. He was his very first guest. That was the level of importance that even, you know, Democrats really viewed him as. Selena, I want to play for everyone a soundbite here. It's actually from our own John Carl, who was able to get President Trump on the phone. And John Carl's reflecting on the conversation they had. But this was just really moments before the announcement was made that this young 31-year-old father had been murdered.
I had a brief conversation with the president over the phone. He sounded quite upset, quite down about this. He told me it's horrific. It's one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. He was a great guy. He was a good man. He was an incredible guy. There's nobody like him. You can even tell there, Selena, when John Carl is talking.
Why aren't they playing some of his inspiring and wholesome speeches? Because if they did, then I think the ABC News audience would not reflect positively on it, I don't think.
Throughout this country, as people are certainly thinking about Charlie Kirk's wife and young children, 2 of them under the age of 5.
31 years old. He is a father. He is a husband and a leader of this movement as well. And just reflecting on what John Carl was saying about his conversation with the president. I mean, this is someone who President Trump has frequently called out, expressing.
Bro, I don't get how these guys get away with this shit, dude. Like, it's so insane. Fox host Jesse Waters, they are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they're at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? Like he just sees this opportunity to do fucking, like, he's just like, he's just mad that it was Charlie Kirk that was shot. He's like, why isn't it that the leftists are getting shot? Why isn't it that, like, liberals are getting shot? Like, that's it. This is a call for violence. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's so crazy, man. It is so fucking wild that these guys will then also simultaneously turn around and be like, well, you know, it's really fucked up. It's really tone down the violent rhetoric. Okay, tell your guys to tone it down. Fuck you mean tone down the violent rhetoric? Where is the violent rhetoric coming from?
This hits different.
Yes, I don't think someone on the left would get such praise or same positive coverage. They would victim blame 100%. Yes, of course. Yes, 100%. That is the reality, okay?
Differently. Because Charlie was one of us. And Trump gets hit in the ear. Charlie gets shot dead. They came after Kavanaugh with a rifle to his neighborhood. They went after Musk's cars. They went after Musk's cars. Brother, once again, like, I can't believe, dude, what the fuck? These are not comparable things, okay? Also, 2 months ago, there was a dude that assassinated Democrat politicians and had a hit list of every single Democrat in the state of Minnesota. And these fucking assholes immediately went, oh, he's a leftist. He must be a leftist. They have concocted a completely alternative universe where they just go off of their own hysteria, their own made-up norms, their own made-up reality. 2 Jews outside the embassy. Think about it. Scalise got shot, barely survived. It's happening. You got trans shooters. You got riots in L.A.
Trans shooters.
They are at war with us. Whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate?
Like, the numbers on the board, numbers on the fucking board, it is not even a comparison. There is no comparison to be made here between violence coming from the political right versus violence coming from the political left. It is so crazy.
And that's the question we're just going to have to ask ourselves. Now, Charlie would want us to put as much pressure on these people.
Holy fuck, bro. These guys are so insane. He's like, all right, one of my friends died. It's time. It's time to fucking use his death to angle for more political repression, political persecution to a made-up enemy that I made up in my mind. Charlie would want that, okay? Did you see this Jay Schlatt tweet?
Dana nailed it. This is unacceptable and has to stop. And it has to stop now. And everybody's accountable. And we're watching what they're saying on television and who's saying what. The politicians, the media, and all of these rats out there. This can never happen again. It ends now. Greg's right again. This is a turning point, and we know which direction we're going.
How do I be normal about this, though? Just don't ask me that question right now, okay? Please. This feels like a nightmare. One of the most horrific things I've ever seen. I feel absolutely gutted and devastated. Pray for Charlie Kirk's soul, his young family, and for our country. The violence and hatred has to stop. Our country needs Christ more than ever. That's crazy. That's crazy because the person saying that is Nick Fuentes. Charlie Kirk says a patriot should bail out alleged Paul Pelosi attacker. Dude, he has said everything under the sun, okay? You could write the most scathing obituary of Charlie Kirk by simply posting everything Charlie Kirk has said in the aftermath of high-profile assassinations, in the aftermath of political violence, in the aftermath of a million different school shootings, okay? This is part of the reason why I say, like, the ways in which, like, liberal media is going to cover the story is going to launder his reputation and whitewash what he has done, whitewash what he has said, because this is a horrifying incident. Okay? He has talked about how there shouldn't be any empathy in the aftermath of school shootings. He said it all. he has said over and over again that it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment.
Having an armed citizenry comes with a price.
The reason why I'm showing this is not to say, well, you know, tough titties or whatever. The reason why I'm showing this is because Charlie Kirk is a part of a machine, a right-wing media machine that has actively worked every single day to make your coworkers also feel comfortable with this violence. Okay? And if you're a right-winger that's tuning in right now to watch me, to see if I'll celebrate this or something, even though you fundamentally misunderstand my commentary if you think that I would do so. But regardless, understand that the reason why I'm showing this is because these people have played a formative role in Charlie Kirk's his situation. He has played a formative role in his own demise by playing a part in a media landscape, in a media environment that normalizes this death and destruction. Video of the shooter. Wait, what? Captured? We don't know if that's real. Okay?
And that is part of liberty. Wow. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. Yes. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence.
Yeah, in his moment of his passing, when he got shot in the neck, he was still advocating for not only less gun control, but he was literally talking about how the only solution to gun violence is by stopping trans people. Because when he goes to these events, there are a lot of people who don't agree with him who attend to debate him. And one of these people was actually asking him a question. He said, Charlie, do you know how many trans people are mass shooters? He said, I don't know. Far too many. And he responded with, do you know how many mass shootings? He said, there's only been 5. Do you know how many mass shootings have taken place in the last 10 years? As opposed to the last 10 years of 5 trans shooters. And while he was in the process of responding to that by saying, well, do you mean gang violence or without gang violence? He got shot in the neck down to the last moment. Now, if people don't understand that in and of itself, the way that people feel about this issue when they reiterate these talking points, when they don't fully comprehend the severity of the problem of gun violence in this country, like, even in this moment, if they don't understand, like, what is the reason why it happens in the United States of America and it doesn't happen anywhere else to the same frequency, to the same magnitude, I don't know what will cause them to recognize it. And my fear is that in the absence of that recognition, in the absence of critical examination, I fear that people are just going to become increasingly more mad. And that's why there's a lot of talk, as this chatter says, about getting revenge on leftist commentators. What's the proper response to this? There is no proper response to this. There's nothing. There's nothing you can say or do. What are you going to do? Tell people don't do that? That's not the answer? That's not going to stop people. It is what it is. What is this? Literally all of Twitter? I've noticed that the leftist center response has been condemnation of the violence, while the right-wing response has largely been some variation of, we need to physically destroy liberals. Yeah. No, that's it. Liberals, for the most part, are saying, like, this is really fucked up. We can't have any sort of political violence whatsoever. And a lot of Republicans are basically saying, nah, we should just kill every leftist now, actually. We should kill them. We should kill them dead. Once again, people who fail to comprehend that, like, I myself clearly am an ideological opponent to Charlie Kirk. I despise his worldview. I have debated him on numerous occasions, and I was slated to debate him again. So clearly, my method, or what I think is the appropriate thing to do in this circumstance, was not political violence, especially considering that I too am in the crosshairs as a left-wing political content creator. but also would have been directly in the crosshairs alongside Charlie Kirk in a public event anyway. Don't go. Well, I don't think that debate is happening any longer, chatter. Obviously. I don't think that there will be any public events for people like myself in the future. This old take of his, yeah. Yo, is Charlie Kirk dead? Yes, he's dead. Gutfeld actually making sense.
It's interesting. We don't know who did this, but I do know it doesn't help the left, which makes me think, is it the left? I don't know. We don't know, but it feels professional. That's all.
That's crazy. That's crazy that Greg Gutfeld has found a moment of honesty. What a unique situation. He must be shook.
Well, it feels to me, you know.
Greg, you asked me a question.
Jesse Waters took no fucking moment to immediately go on with, well, political violence. It's time to fucking dish it back to the left, as though the left is responsible for this. We need more violence. The solution to what we just experienced is more violence. Judging by the shameful, opportunistic, and politicizing rhetoric of some right-wingers on this hell site and their cynical use of Charlie Kirk's horrific murder for political point scoring, it's almost as if Representative Melissa Hortman wasn't murdered by a MAGA maniac just 12 weeks ago. Yep.
But we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe. So then how do you reduce? Very simple. People say, oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings? I don't know. How did we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How do we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks. How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns because everyone's armed.
This thread identifies to have appeared. This thread appears to have identified where the shooting took place rooftop directly across from the stage. New posted footage. I know people are. This is the same exact rooftop, I think, on the roof of the Lucy Center at UVU. So this is the video that's been circulating. Additional footage shows an individual running across the roof of the Lucy Center in the moments after the shooting. Where is it? Where's the dude? Oh, right here? No. Oh, there it is. Oh my God. Okay, never mind. Oh my God. Is that the one? Yeah, look right here. Do you see that? Or is that a window speck of dirt? It could be a speck of dirt. I don't know, but it feels like it's moving. I don't think is it moving? Is it not moving? I can't tell. It looks like it's moving. It moves with the camera? Yeah, because it's running in the opposite direction. That's the reason why it's almost like a visual trick. But it also could be artifacting taking place because it's like, no, it's definitely moving. Look at the trail that it takes. It's because at the end there, it moves a little bit faster. No, see, yeah, it's moving. It's definitely not. It's not a speck of dirt, dude. Look, it's gone. Yeah, I saw that the account Doug Zimmer was created just to post another angle of the roof. There's something very suspicious. I mean, there's always like insane suspicious shit that happens in the aftermath of incidents like this. This is the original video that I didn't want to show you because I didn't see I didn't see enough. But yeah, here someone literally someone filmed this guy. I mean, I don't understand. Like that's awfully weird. That's awfully strange.
Ran in.
What? There's audio.
Getting right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there. Just saying.
Huh.
He just ran from over. Where's my finger? Well, from over there, ran in, and now he's right there. Just saying.
Like, why would they even think to film that? I mean, I guess that's not that crazy. And also, they probably thought that it was security because there are sniper rifles at It's a speck of dirt. It doesn't look like a speck of dirt from that video that you're posting. I don't understand. Also, there are different angles. There are literally different angles where they show that. I mean, I think this is the same roof. Yeah. That's the same roof in a different video. CNN reports Vance is going to Utah next Thursday. Look, where is it? What is this? Grifters gonna grift? I don't want to ever hear Charlie Kirk claim he's pro-Trump ever again. After this weekend, I'd say he has revealed himself as a political opportunist, and I've had front row seats to witness the mental gymnastics these last 10 years. Lately, Charlie has decided to behave like a charlatan, claiming to be pro-Trump one day while he stabs Trump in the back the next day. TPUSA was only able to thrive thanks to the generosity of President Trump. He got killed because he was anti-Israel, and you can't have someone who's that powerful over the right be anti-Israel. What the fuck? Charlie Kirk is one of the biggest deep throaters of Israel out there. What the fuck are you talking about? You think Charlie Kirk is anti-Israel? Oh my God. It's official. We now officially have the Arab version of like, he was just about to buy an NFL team. That's gotta be, this is the Arab version of that. Oh, that prominent figure was just about to buy an NFL team until they took him out. Benjamin Netanyahu, literally, the entire right hates Israel and he had to fall in line. What are you talking about? Benjamin Netanyahu is like talking about how he got murdered for speaking the truth and defending freedom, a lion-hearted friend to Israel. Where is this coming from? I'm not going to name names. What? This is a fucking InfoWars guy, Harrison A. Smith. I'm not going to name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against them. Are you guys crazy? What do words mean? Charlie Kirk was anti-Israel is a absolutely psychotic assessment to make. You are just not living on the same planet that we're all living on if you think that he was fucking anti-Israel in any capacity, man. What the fuck is this?
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good.
Nina Turner responded to you?
Nothing quite yet. So just getting our live stream set up.
Showing you tell me if the angle, what you think of the angle.
Okay.
I like the seal. Test.
Do they want any water?
Yeah, Charlie Kirk was so pro-Israel. Itamar Ben-Gvir is talking about his death.
So, as I mentioned, we are going to go actively live. Lieutenant Roden, we're going to start.
Basically, everyone in the government of Israel is fucking talking about how they're praying
The actual press conference starts. Also, if you guys need a water,
for the champion of the free world. And this is yet another one of these tweets from Charlie. The deaths of women and children in Gaza are the fault of Hamas, not Israel, just like the deaths in Japan during World War II were the fault of Japan, not America. When a government engages in unprovoked murderous aggression, they are to blame for everything that results. AP is interviewing Congress right now.
That are 10 or 20 times higher than Canada, the European Union, Mexico, or what have you. So that's something concrete that we can do to try to turn this nightmare around. Obviously, I don't want people engaged in political violence of any kind, whether it's with guns or knives. Or
His most recent video on Qatar, Charlie asked if we should start questioning Israel more. Man, that's a delicate fucking tightrope that he has to dance on. That's not enough for Israel to assassinate him, okay? What are you talking about?
At this point, and the rhetoric from the left for this shooting. I mean, do you think that?
I think if Israel were to assassinate a fucking prominent critic of Israel, it probably wouldn't be Charlie Kirk, who has dick rode Israel into oblivion.
About who the shooter was or who the killer was, and I think it doesn't help a very difficult situation for people to be blaming violence like this on political parties or political factions. I certainly resisted that when I heard people doing that after the Minnesota killings or after Paul Pelosi was attacked, and there's no reason for us to get into that. The violence against political leaders is unacceptable in a free democratic society, and it is a threat to democracy. So we all have to denounce it. We all have to reject it. And we should all resist the temptation just to point fingers. That takes us nowhere. We should be rejecting gun violence and political violence in all of their forms, regardless of who the target is.
As far as the political rhetoric goes, though, do you believe that lawmakers on both sides need to tone this down?
Sure, I definitely believe lawmakers need to tone it down, and we should do our best to try to make friends with people on the other side of the aisle. I mean, we're all Americans, right? So I just don't accept the idea that to belong to a different political party means that you're in some kind of enemy camp. And we all have to reject that and struggle against it.
How do you struggle and reject that? I mean, it seems like so much of this comes from a cultural animus that's almost bottom up in a sense. Can you really display a top-down sense of an example to follow that you think will be effective?
Well, I think no, but we can display bottom up forms of friendship and relationship. And I hope we all can do it. I mean, obviously, in the House of Representatives, we got 435 people. You can't make close friends with everybody, but everybody can try to make friends with some people who are outside of their immediate, state or political group. I certainly try and do that, and I hope we all will try and do that. But it's a very dark time with the political violence spiraling out of control and gun violence a threat to everybody in the country.
You and other members of the former January 6th
Are you ready for
committee
Kirkgate to be a catalyst of another Red Scare? I mean, I think that the opportunity is ripe for this already, and I do think that they will use this. The Republicans will use this because there's a lot of unrestrained anger right now. There always has been. I mean, that is for right-wing commentary in general, but they want some kind of violent solution. So we will have more videos from the incident come out. Like, we'll have more people filming the rooftops and whatnot, and we can analyze it as it goes on. But it's I don't know. What is this? Possible Charlie Kirk shooter running on the roof of a nearby building? Yeah, I know. We saw it. We watched that video already. Yeah, they'll just they already have a Gestapo secret police. It's called ICE, and they're actively beefing it up. They're there's job fairs and whatnot everywhere, where they're trying to bring in more people to the Gestapo secret police. And eventually it won't be just the Supreme Court just allowed ICE to apprehend anybody that they consider to look Mexican or sound Mexican. Now they'll just look for people who look woke, something along those lines,
He said, of course, it will be interesting to see how the politics of this all plays out, but surely a horrific and tragic event that has united both sides of the political aisle here. Calls from Democrats and Republicans that this should not happen. This cannot happen in this country. And they've really united behind that. The moment of silence, of course, on Capitol Hill. We've heard from Democratic leaders, Republican leaders. So I'm sure that we will continue to hear from them. I know that we won't, at least in person, hear from the president tonight. We haven't seen him on camera today. He had that event. I know we've been talking about this, but he's had that event, that dinner scheduled for tonight at 7 o'clock over at the White House, where I'm told a bunch of cabinet officials were supposed to be present. He's canceled that. He's getting updates from his team, rolling updates from his team. I'm told the FBI Director Kash Patel was over at the White House earlier today. So obviously that has been postponed. I think it's likely you could hear from the president, at least on camera, tomorrow about this. But this surely is something that he continues to monitor as law enforcement continues to get more information from the ground, from the federal law enforcement presence on the ground. I know that the FBI is surging people in. I could expect at this news are coming up that They will likely say that federal authorities are taking the lead on this, as typically happens here. But still lots of questions that need to be answered for the community, for the people who were attending that event, for Charlie Kirk and his family, that need to be cleared up, including whether or not they do.
I don't trust Kash Patel, but even though he is the least trustworthy person in the United States of America, the least trustworthy person in the United States of America has said, the subject for the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. Thank you for the local and state authorities in Utah for a partnership with the FBI. We will provide updates when able. This is what Republican representatives are already claiming.
Own what happened today.
Nancy Mace's very first words to reporters on Charlie Kirk was, Democrats own what happened today. Oh my God.
Devastated. My kids have called panicking. They probably, all the kids of every conservative in the country call panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the 2 Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I mean,
What? It's a good question. I mean, what's your logic here, you know?
We don't know what condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging left.
Yeah, immediately. How dare you? How dare you? It's like, do you hear the words that are coming out of your fucking mouth, dumbass? What do you mean, how dare you? You just said it. You said Democrats own Charlie Kirk's assassination. No evidence whatsoever. And the reality of the matter is, like, people say, like, oh, the left is so radical. The left is so violent, right? Oh, so much for the tolerant left. But especially if you're going to put the crosshairs on the Democrats in general, the Democrats are afraid of their own fucking shadows. They would never even, they don't even ramp up the rhetoric in a way that makes sense to truly capture the attention of the audience and the anger that a lot of people in the base of support feel, let alone go above and beyond that and advocate for political violence. Like, what are we talking about? What are we even fucking talking about? It's so ridiculous. Yes, I know the FBI has announced that they have the suspect in custody. Like, the only things that you can point to is I guess, like, Hakeem Jeffries posting up with a baseball bat. Goofy. You know? Guy with a rifle that has a silencer at the end of it. I saw this video as well. I don't know what the fuck this is, okay? It could be just like a homeless person. You don't know. The party at Kyle Rittenhouse is complaining about political violence. I know.
I think they just found the guy. Right.
Reports saying he's dead. A homeless person with a $3,000 rifle. I mean, I don't fucking know who this guy is. We don't know anything. He could be anything. It could also be something totally irrelevant. You know what I mean? Why would you? You can't jump to conclusions. Where's the fucking press conference? Oh, here it is.
The Utah Department of Public Safety will be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah, Utah's an open carry state, chatters.
We're working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired.
What is it, George Zinn?
While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country. As we heal, we encourage everyone who is struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state mental health crisis.
Oh, they have audio scanner, police scanner. They said it wasn't him.
Partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Our thoughts are also with the people.
He's no longer at large. FBI says they got him.
We know that what you experienced was very difficult.
What the fuck's going on? FBI says they got him. These guys are saying, local law enforcement saying they don't got him.
As soon as we heard about the shooting, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages.
It did happen just now, so they might not have been briefed.
If anyone has any information, please report it to the FBI or local law enforcement. Thank you.
I don't know, or maybe they don't believe Kash Patel either because he's
On behalf
just
of
an
President
unbelievable
Jimenez,
guy.
who we've been communicating.
He's an
with,
unbelievable
she's on her way
guy.
Back right now, I say that on behalf of Utah Valley University, we are shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group
What the fuck is
Turning
happening?
Point
Man,
USA to
it's
speak
so
on our
incompetent.
campus. We firmly believe that
This
UVU is a
admin.
place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU.
What the fuck? What was that?
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward.
What is going on, brother?
I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners.
No, you're not. Kash Patel said you got the guy. What is happening?
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation.
What the fuck is
I
going
want to
on,
be very
dude?
clear
What
that
is
this
happening?
is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to two young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people.
What the fuck?
Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now to whoever did this, we will find you, we will try you, and we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people
Seemingly
that
not, by the way. Like, they're saying this, but I don't know if this is true, because Kash Patel says they caught him. They're saying they haven't. I don't even know if Kash Patel deleted his tweet.
Our nation is broken.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Political
No fucking shot. Where is the tweet?
Recently in Minnesota, we had an attempted assassination.
Head of the fucking
of the governor of
FBI, dude.
Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential
No, he
ticket
hasn't
and
deleted
former
it.
president of the United States.
He hasn't. It's
and
still
now
here.
current
It's still
president
there.
of the
It's still
United
there.
States.
It's still there. It's still there. But I still don't know. I don't know. I don't know why these guys are saying that he hasn't.
Country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken.
Why? Why?
Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting.
Wait, they said this.
I would
They have a
beg
person
you
in custody. Wait, why are they saying the manhunt still continues?
And to see if you can
So they have a person of interest.
I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American.
Dude, they said they have a person of interest, and he's still talking about if you did this, we will find you, and we will do whatever the fuck we have to.
But more than the leaders, we just need.
Am I crazy?
Every single person in this country.
They're both saying the exact same thing. They're both saying the suspect is in custody, but they're not perfectly sure if he's the guy. I don't.
To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens.
Okay. Mason, we did have a suspect in custody, but he was released after we identified that he was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked in the county jail for obstruction of justice. This was who he was talking about, the first guy that they actually arrested. Okay? There's also a miscommunication in terms of like whether or not they have another
We have
actual
a person of interest in custody
Oh,
that is being
okay.
interviewed right now. We do.
That is not George Zinn.
That is not George Zinn. That is correct.
Okay. I wasn't alone in being confused, chatters.
Or anybody else related to this?
Yes, we are actively looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to this shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where, how long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Can you guys talk about the possible shooter?
Do you want to talk about what we know there? Yeah.
The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you think the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
So did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak.
I'll just say that the investigation's ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be sure to release it.
Any indications of foreign intelligence involvement?
As of now, I can't comment on any of that.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise, and what happens on these kind of events?
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we are devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. Obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer.
Wait, I thought they were there at the event.
Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area, and so he was kind of in a lower area, surrounded by buildings. We had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. We train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and these things. Unfortunately,
you're watching this live press conference from Orange, Utah. Normally, we were on the air with World News Tonight. We will join the broadcast in just a moment. I want to bring you up to speed on what we just learned. There is a person of interest now in custody. They are interviewing this person. It is not the same person that was taken into custody for a short period of time earlier in the day. That person has been cleared. Again, there is a person of interest in custody. They have no intelligence at this point to believe that there was anyone else involved as of yet. They believe that shot was fired from a building on campus, a separate location, a distance away from where Charlie Kirk was. Again, Charlie Kirk shot and killed on that Utah campus this afternoon. Our team is standing by. We'll have much more throughout the evening. And for those of you in the East, World News Tonight starts just moments from now.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, was it your team or Kirk's team or a combination of both that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. You know, he has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and so yeah, we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot?
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today. Again, thank you for covering this. We will be updating you as soon as we have additional information through normal channels, working with law enforcement. Again, our deepest condolences to the Kirk family and to the students who were there today. I would just ask everyone everywhere to please pray for their family and to pray for our country. We need it now more than ever. Thank you.
All with updates through one channel of information, whether it's
okay, there's also some additional information that came out from investigative reporter at the DC Examiner, the Washington Examiner, which is a right-wing outlet. According to a live feed of the Utah County Police scanner at the time of Charlie Kirk's shooting, an individual was spotted with a long rifle wearing jeans, a black shirt, a black mask, and a black vest. It starts off with inaudible on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest. A speaker on the police scanner says, here's the audio of the moment Utah County Police dispatchers responded to the Charlie Kirk shooting.
UVU by the Soundstand reported one individual that was shot, unknown where the shooter went. And let's be advised, UVU in Orem has had an active shooter at the Charlie Kirk event. We're getting several calls. We're trying to get more information. We're not sure yet. We're just trying to get units that way.
Don't call out.
Are there other victims, or was this a targeted attack? No, dude, no other victims, just Charlie Kirk. Straight neck shot. No one else. It was very clearly he was very clearly the target. Okay.
Center 500 West, no further.
He didn't even shoot multiple times, that's part of the reason why I think people are, even Greg Buttfeld was saying that this is like the work of someone who might be a little bit more professional, like the work of a competent actor, because like lone wolf shootings and incidents like that oftentimes devolve into a mass shooting, mass casualty event. Because in that moment, the dude is like panicking. In that moment, the dude is like panicking and worried about like people shooting back at him. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple panic shots, even in the direction of the target. This was just straight up one shot, one kill. Like he had Charlie Kirk on his sights, and he hit him right in the fucking jugular. It is insane. So I do feel like it kind of narrows the field a little bit as far as like who could potentially be a suspect. I want to make something clear. The person was a medium good shot who actually missed what they were aiming at, likely his head, maybe. But he only shot once. You understand? He shot one time over 200 yards in the distance. Like he didn't shoot twice. He didn't go for the, look, the thing that people teach you when you learn how to shoot is to aim for center mass. This is the same in like, this is the same for police. This is the same for even the military. You're supposed to aim for center mass. You're not supposed to aim for the head, because you're supposed to aim for center mass and you're supposed to shoot multiple times. This person very clearly, even if they were going for the head as opposed to the neck, very clearly was only interested in taking one shot. 200 yards sounds a bit. Figure on the roof in several videos ID'd as the shooter was 128 yards away, give or take 1 yard while prone, seconds before the shot. Still an insane shot, but more reasonable than the 200-yard number going around. I mean, that's still a crazy shot, no? Especially in a, like, this is ultimately still a moving target in a very active environment, and it's a very small target from that distance. But I don't know. I just check my last message. No, I refuse 200 isn't that crazy, dude. Trust me, I'm a gun pervert. What is this? Konstantin Kissin. Who the fuck? Oh, it's the trigonometry guys. I hope I'm wrong, but tonight feels like some sort of invisible line has been crossed that we didn't even know was there. Last time I felt like this was 9/11 when it was clear without knowing how and the what. The world was about to change forever. Like the rules of the game had been permanently altered and there was simply no going back to the innocent, peaceful past. I didn't feel like this is an attempt that was made. I didn't feel like this when an attempt was made on President Trump's life. If I had to rationalize why I didn't, I guess it was because several U.S. presidents have been shot and even assassinated. Somehow it was within the realms of the possible, no matter how awful. But to murder a young father simply for doing debates and mobilizing young people to vote for a party that represents half of America, this is something else. Charlie's death is a tragedy for his wife, his children, his family. I don't pray often. I'm praying for them tonight. But I fear his murder will be a tragedy for all of us in ways we will only understand as time unfolds. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, he's not a liberal. He's a right-winger. The trigonometry guys are right-wingers. The thing with Kirk in this particular moment was that he was gradually becoming the face of untrustworthy, hackish partisanship on the right, to the point that someone who built his career around crashing his events and insulting him personally, Fuentes, was gaining rapid fame. Now his legacy is going to be solidified as it was when he was at the peak of his fame, influence, and credibility. There will never be a process in which his fans become disillusioned with him. This is a very good thing for TPUSA and will allow it to remain influential over the long haul, even if the Trump administration writ large crashes and burns. Sorry he was not as important as 9/11. Yeah, I don't think so either, obviously. But Edinger Mentum's assessment is correct that there was definitely, with the Epstein stuff especially, with Israel, but also with the Epstein stuff, there was disillusionment with Charlie Kirk. Not that it matters at this point, because obviously this is he will now be revered as a martyr and a hero to the modern Republican movement. But especially with the Epstein stuff, like when he had that famous moment where he said, like, I don't, I got a call from the Trump administration and they told me not to talk about the Epstein stuff, so I'm going to stop talking about the Epstein stuff. That in and of itself, I think, is right-wing Twitter is being normal. Libs of TikTok, this is war. Oh my God. Guys, before you think this is like a false flag incident for what comes next, please think. Do you think Donald Trump would do a false flag incident by burning Charlie Kirk? The answer is no. Okay. I'm not even going to. No, don't say yes. There are a million other people that the administration would probably fucking martyr if they were going to unironically kill somebody that before Charlie Kirk. You guys are fucking crazy. No, they're just using this as an opportunity to continue advancing their dangerous fascist project. I don't know. People talk about like shooting a small target from 200 yards or 128 yards or whatnot, but they fail to consider like what that means. Okay, I don't think it works that way. I don't think it starts with like your first target. I don't like what I'm trying to say is like someone who actually shoots from that distance with one shot, factoring in wind conditions and whatnot, I suspect is probably someone who has shot someone else in the past as well, right? Hasan, you always do this. You don't know. This person is not even talking about my assessment of the shooting and whether it was a complex shot or a difficult shot or not. This person is mad because I said, I don't think Donald Trump would fucking martyr Charlie Kirk. That's what you're saying. Yeah, of course I don't know if that's a possibility. Just like I don't know if Mossad did it. Just like I don't know if Hamas did it. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's like it's not in the realm of fucking possibilities. Okay, I you can eliminate certain things by using logic and critical thinking skills. That's crazy. Neither of us know until there's more evidence, until there's more, until the investigations are concluded. Neither of us are going to know with any certainty whatsoever what the motivations were. Okay. Having said that, however, I see a lot of people throwing conspiracies around with the notion that like throwing conspiracies around that he was gonna like he was just right there. He was about to be like anti-Israel or something, and then they had to get him out or some shit. Like no, I don't think those are credible. I think those are incredible conspiracies. They are very, very, very unlikely. I still don't know. I still don't know what it is, obviously, and neither do you, but I just don't have a suspicion that it's
one. Our thanks to you. I also want to bring in our ABC
it was
news contributor,
Trump
former
killing
FBI
him
agent
so that
Richard
they can make a
Frankel.
martyr out of
and Richard,
him.
again, before this press conference started, we heard from the FBI Director Kash Patel saying that there's someone in custody. Then we heard that there's an ongoing manhunt from local authorities, and then the governor confirming there is a person of interest.
Charlie Kirk being assassinated is the American Reichstag fire. It is time for a complete crackdown on the left. Every Democratic politician must be arrested and party banned under RICO. Every libtard commentator must be shut down. Stochastic terrorism, they caused this.
The FBI is taking on this questioning. How does this get
This
delegated?
guy's a Nazi, by the way, if you couldn't tell from the fact that he's using Reichstag fire with the full knowledge of like how it was implemented and what came after. 25,000 likes, by the way, to that statement. Fucking awesome. Fucking awesome, dude. Love living in this media environment. Love living in these times as opposed to any other. Fantastic.
Terms, basically terrorism. In that capacity, the FBI could come in with the U.S. Attorney's Office and make this a federal case and bring this under federal charges. So you might have state charges, and also federal charges. But they'll work together on it because the evidence that they're trying to gain is the same. They're trying to prove who shot,
who shot Charlie Kirk?
Who shot Charlie? And the other thing that was a little bit telling was that when they were asking the questions of the FBI, somebody did ask, "Hey, is there even a foreign power involved?" And
I'm beginning to notice a pattern here where, like, anytime it's a right-wing figure that's attacked or figure in his cars are attacked or whatever, it's terrorism. But if it's a liberal that's assassinated, it's not terrorism. We need to wait and see. It's an unfortunate incident. How unfortunate, but it is what it is. It must be a leftist that killed him. That kind of shit. It's very interesting.
Senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, and Selena certainly mourning across this country, but perhaps nowhere more than Washington, D.C. right now.
Tonight, the White House is in mourning. The White House has flags at half staff, and President Trump has ordered for flags to be lowered across the country. This is an administration and a Capitol that is rattled by this act of violence. You had that moment of silence, of mourning on Capitol Hill, a real bipartisan push to lower the temperature, the tone of political rhetoric in this country, bipartisan condemnation across the political aisle on both sides of the political spectrum to condemn this sort of political violence. And President Trump tonight in mourning, grieving as well. The president had posted that Charlie Kirk was loved and admired by all, especially me. We've been talking about how hard it is to overstate the influence that Charlie Kirk had within this administration, but also to this broader MAGA movement.
Check Twitter, babe.
The murder of a young father and husband, and certainly the country in mourning. Selena Wang, our thanks to you, and thank you for streaming with us. I'm Kana Whitworth. We take you now live to ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis for more breaking news coverage, again, of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who was shot and killed in Utah. As you look across this country, hug your families and pay attention to those American flags that will be flown at half staff.
Yeah, except like, while this is happening, there was another fucking school shooting that took place in Colorado. It's so crazy that it's just like, that's how commonplace this is, America is so fucking cooked. America is so cooked.
The founder.
I can't get over the horrible irony. Like, his very last words coming out of his mouth before he got shot and killed was still, unironically, down to the fucking last moment, a defense of a defense and fomenting the exact same kind of violence that ended up taking him out. It's so crazy. And not only that, but also every single one of these people are just like fucking pushing the same, like they're just getting actively more and more radicalized. Yeah. And in the same time frame, not even an hour after Charlie Kirk was shot, a school was shot up in Colorado. We interrupt the shooting at a college to bring you news of a shooting at a high school. Yeah. This is America, man. Yeah, I saw the House floor go for a moment of silence and then people were yelling at each other. That video from the chatter sent you about the dude getting arrested is from 2022. Thank you.
Our hearts are broken.
The 31-year-old father of two was on the first stop of his
it is
American
crazy.
comeback tour. Speaking on
It is
campuses
not crazy how this is being reacted to. The FBI guy was basically giving a eulogy and the president ordering flags that has half-mast, just saying it wouldn't be the same if it was a political commentator on the other side. Yes. The reality of the matter is if any political commentary person on the other side, myself included, was assassinated in a similar vein, there would be no fucking half-mast flags. Okay? That's just the truth. And I don't even think the Democrats would present this as, like, the Democrats would not be calling for fucking violence. Not saying that that's the smart thing to do in this situation at all. And virtually every Republican, including active Republicans in Congress, would be celebrating it, as they did. This is not even a hypothetical that I need to, like, make up in my mind, because we saw it happen. We saw it happen 2 months ago. We saw it happen 2 months ago. A Democratic politician was assassinated with numerous other Democratic politicians on the hit list of the assassin. And Republicans either celebrated it or immediately blamed the left. They said, oh, the left did this. They made jokes about it. So yeah, I mean, Paul Pelosi is another one. It's just like, there is no, I'm telling you right now, there is just a major double standard in this. Everybody understands it, I think, at this point. It's just like, there is a 30% base of support within the Republican Party that is not only responsible for the metric ton of, like, a big chunk of the violent rhetoric coming in the realm of politics, but also simultaneously are, like, claiming victim in this circumstance as well.
Say this.
What? Nancy Mace's first words, AOC's response? This is not AOC's response. This is Nancy Mace. What is this? 16K likes on this? Okay, dude. Mike Lee is a perfect example. Here's an example. Yeah. Boy, base Mike Lee's tone sure changed since the last political assassination when 2 Minnesota Democrats were shot dead in June. Nightmare on Wall Street. This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way. Look at how he's talking about Charlie Kirk getting assassinated now. Noticeable pattern shift here. Noticeable tone shift.
He had boundless energy and great love for his country. I agree with Charlie Kirk or not. Go on record saying I agree with him. I'm sure I could identify, if I went through enough things, some issue, obscure issue where we didn't agree, but I can't think of one right now.
Dedicated for Carly the Master Debater, RIP. After the killing of Charlie Kirk, an Israeli occupation soldier documented himself bombing Gaza for Kirk's sake. There's no way, bro. I just don't. Sus may be fake. I mean, tracking genocide is pretty good on this stuff, to be fair. They're very careful with their documentation, but, you know, I'll wait for further validation, I guess.
But whether you agree with him or not, you have to respect his boundless energy, his commitment to making the world a better place, genuine decency and respect that he showed to other people, even while disagreeing with them, even while they were yelling at him. I don't think I can remember ever seeing him respond back to hatred with hate, or with anything other than respect. And he had the ability to explain complex concepts to people in very simple, understandable terms, even people who hadn't historically been involved in politics or historically thought of themselves as conservatives or, you know, one way or another. And I think that's his legacy. And it's a legacy.
Yeah, nobody's actually showing his commentary for some reason. Nobody's actually quoting him, showing his commentary, because I feel like if you did do that, it would obviously be a lot harder to be like, he was a compassionate man who always treated everybody with respect. I mean, let's be real. He was not a compassionate person. He quite literally said empathy is fake and woke and gay and made up. And every marginalized group was directly within the crosshairs. Did he personally believe it, or was he simply a servant of the right? It doesn't really matter, because the output was the same. Lots of Twitter randos calling for violence against you. Stay safe, bud. I know, man. What else is new? You know, this is every day of my life. Okay, every day of my life for the past 10 years. It is what it is. It's been happening, and dude. People will be like, "Oh, dude, there are people who are wishing death upon you all over the internet." It's such a crazy thing to say, because yesterday, before this happened. Yesterday, the former disgraced governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who is in second place for the New York mayoral race right now after he already lost the primaries to Zohran Mamdani, literally tried to make it seem as though I had something to do with 9/11. Okay? Like, I know. Of course people fucking wish death upon me. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you think that is? Why do you think he's saying that? Anyway. Since Republicans on this hell side are getting on their high horse today and politicizing the horrific and inexcusable murder of Charlie Kirk when we don't have a suspect or motive yet, it's worth reminding them of this Trump-endorsed GOP gubernatorial candidate last year. Lieutenant Mark Robinson at North Carolina church meeting, some folks need killing. I mean, yeah, there's just not, that's it. This kind of violence, specifically political violence, is only going to ramp up in its intensity, in its frequency, in its magnitude. The reason why it's going to ramp up is because if left unaddressed, the political instability demands some sort of pressure valve, okay? Part of that is when mass protests take place, for example, and the cops, instead of administration, instead of listening to the demands, very reasonable demands being made by the population, will stick the cops on them and brutalize them. And then those turn into riots. Okay. And the same principle goes here as well. In the absence of any sort of real legislative change here, and it's seemingly impossible, I think that decentralized versions of violence such as this one will only continue to ramp up in its intensity, in its frequency, in its magnitude. It is an inevitability. This is why we advocate for a systemic change. This is why we advocate for a radical change in the legislative agenda. Okay?
Did have some moments of confusion. Do they or do they not have the person in custody that they, for all intents and purposes, know did this or not? Can you tell?
They have a person in custody who they've referred to as a person of interest, but this is essentially their main suspect right now. How do they get there? Let's go back to that footage of the rooftop with the yellow tape. When the shots fired, individuals saw a figure on a rooftop. Now, this rooftop is the only one that has crime scene tape on it. It fits that 200-yard distance. It's way far away behind a building and then behind a lower building. And this is the taller building where someone could have been in the corner of that building where those air vents are and actually gotten a straight line of sight all the way across down that amphitheater to where Kirk was in that tent.
I mean, you know, Tim Clemente, the horrible reality of this, to be that far away, they're saying 200 yards, right, John?
Right.
200 yards with a single shot. That requires somebody who knows what they're doing, right?
It does, Aaron. It's not a spectacular shot. I was actually training snipers this morning.
Classic fucking gun guys, dude. Every gun guy in the
chat. They were taking
chat.
shots out 500, 600 yards routinely. So 200 yards isn't a terrible distance, but you need to control your trigger pull, and that's about all it takes at 200 yards to make an effective shot like that.
So Tim, you know, and I think that context is so crucial, as obviously you're training snipers today, so you know of what you speak. This large crowd in attendance, we know that he had his own private security. Interesting, what Emma was saying, that there was a police presence, but not as much as she and her colleagues would have expected when they were there. You know, Tim, just to think about this moment that we're in, as you are training snipers today, and all of a sudden you see this headline. How big of a shock is something like this happening in this country?
It's horrific. It's a terrible shock. I mean, this takes us back to a period of time in the 1960s when leaders on both sides were being killed. And, we don't expect that today. But here it's, one of my sons texted me and said it's so tragic and this is over hurt feelings. Charlie Kirk never hurt anyone. He just had political opposition to some people and religious beliefs that were in opposition to some people. And because of those belief differences, he's now dead. And we can't survive as a nation when someone who speaks differently than you, who says things you don't agree with, is somebody you're willing to kill. And I don't know how we get past this without bringing people together. And you mentioned early in the story how Charlie Kirk liked to go to these rallies and ask questions of people that disagreed with him so they could debate. And debate is the one thing that's lacking in the country.
So we have Emma back now from the Deseret News. Emma, can I just ask you, when that question happened, and just to be clear, we understand, they're pointing to the possibility of this person having been on the roof. That's the entire direction that this is going right now, that's the person of interest, person on the roof, and sniper. But the question obviously was asked from the ground. But could you see anything about the questioner? When at the press conference, they seemed to indicate they still didn't know who that individual was.
I'll be honest, I hadn't thought of it. But when that journalist had asked that, it kind of did. It made me pause and think, it's almost like a dark irony of that was the question that was asked. But again, we don't know enough information, and law enforcement hasn't shared more on that.
Yeah, we don't know. Of course, as we played it, the question was about transgender shooters right before the shot was fired. Adam Wren, you have been on this program so many times because of your incredible reporting on MAGA influencers and those media juggernauts in the MAGA influencer world. Charlie Kirk, one of them. You interviewed him multiple times for Politico. I know you spoke to Laura Loomer tonight, who is also obviously crucial in the movement and knew Charlie Kirk well. So what is the reaction? What are you hearing from MAGA about this horrific, what seems to be assassination?
Yeah, Aaron, I spoke with Charlie just a few weeks back for a story about whether the MAGA coalition could stay together and what Vice President J.D. Vance's role in that was. And, he told me that he thought that Vance would inherit the coalition, that he wanted to see him, if Vance himself wanted to see him run in 2028, but was always sort of struck by his cheeriness. He, always seemed to be, in a good mood about this. But what I'm hearing from influencers like Laura Loomer is they see this moment as a real rallying cry for the right. They want the left to be punished over this. They see the left as producing a disproportionate number of violent people. They point to the assassination attempts against President Trump last year. And of course, we can zero back in and find instances of the right on violence as well. But they clearly see this as a rallying cry and want vengeance. Some of them have used that word specifically, vengeance. Loomer is saying that this was a professional hit job on Charlie Kirk. And so it doesn't seem like we can unwind the Gordian knot of political violence here.
I mean, the word vengeance is a horrible word. I know others have used even worse. Horrible in the context of where we are right now. Juliet.
I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, these guys talk about like the unacceptable form of violence. It's not. It's true. It is true that violence is unacceptable. People that overlook the charred flesh of dead Palestinian children and just say, hey, man, there's a reason for it. October 7. Remember October 7. Hamas. What do you think? Like, obviously, these two things are not the same. I mean, I see those images as well. I'm shocked by the cruelty of human nature, shocked by the cruelty of all people who look at that and just, go along with their days without like even reconsidering their position on America's allegiances or whatever. But like, what do you think is happening when you present all of this unlimited ultra violence all the time on television, constantly, and justifying it? Like, we become a more violent nation as a consequence of that. This is it. Why are we treating this death any differently from Brian Thompson's? What do you mean? Are you talking about we as in this community? Or are you talking about like people in general? Because there's plenty of people still also saying, RIP Pack Watch or whatever. If you're asking me why, my assessment in this is way more restrained, think a little bit. It's not that hard for you to comprehend, don't you think? As a person who is the recipient of numerous death threats every single fucking day, what happened to Charlie Kirk is who I was supposed to be debating 2 weeks from now. Hits a little close home to. It's a little bit closer to home. Like, think about it, especially as like people are actively fantasizing about doing vengeance to left content creators right now. I mean, I don't like Charlie Kirk. I did not like Charlie Kirk. I think his worldview is horrifying. I think he's a bad person overall. But I also knew Charlie Kirk. For the past 10 years, I've debated Charlie Kirk. I've stood next to him on a public stage twice. And it's not even just about Charlie Kirk necessarily, but it's also what I suspect. It's also what I suspect is going to take place in the aftermath of this, whether it be decentralized forms of violence from people who are seeking out vengeance. More often than not, it's already right-wingers who, more often than not, it's right-wingers that are engaging in this, even when the target is right-wing themselves, okay? But also, on top of that, there is going to be administrative control here, too. There's going to be political repression, more political repression, I suspect. For those of you who are wondering, like, will I go outside again? Yes, of course. I can't let fear dictate my life. Okay? Don't be crazy.
And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
This is the first time I've heard someone say this. MSNBC on Charlie Kirk shooting. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. You can't stop these sort of awful thoughts you have. And then these... Wait, they issued a statement condemning it, and they retracted it, and they condemned it. I mean, yeah.
Aware of that at all?
Everywhere Charlie went, as far as I understand, there was opposition, and he continued to move forward. And it's inspiring to me to see a person, in spite of threats and force and pressure against him, that he continued to move forward, doing something that in a civil fashion. He would debate ideas, but would never promote violence. And that is...
No, he, much like many others in the right, sheltered his violent rhetoric under the auspices of systematic forms of violence, okay? When you say, sucks to suck, Palestinian children are going to die, okay? That's objectively a violent statement, but you're simply promoting state violence in that regard, so it's not seen in the same vein as someone who is resisting against state oppression or state violence. That's it. Whenever he said, oh, there is no such thing as a Palestinian, as they were being ethnically cleansed, whenever he denied the genocide, those are objectively violent statements. The problem, of course, from the audience reception, and this is including liberals as well, and this is the major problem with like the way liberals often lose these sorts of conversations, is that as long as you refuse to reckon with systematic forms of violence, then obviously it's not going to be, as long as you don't understand that systematic forms of violence are still violence, no matter how normalized, you're not going to be able to comprehend that. You're not going to be able to understand that. This is how, like, here, I'll give you an example that liberals comprehend and understand, right? Abortion. Okay? Restricting access to this medical procedure, this life-saving medical procedure, is denying women bodily autonomy. Okay? So when you have a right-wing commentator who says, abortion is murder, we have to put an end to it, and then an administration that responds to those calls and actually tries to restrict access to this life-saving medical intervention, that inevitably leads to a shit ton of violence for a lot of women, including deaths for a lot of women who have ectopic pregnancies that they can't actually take care of, for example, because the medical professionals involved are terrified of legal repercussions. So then they die. That's violence. It's just a more socialized version of said violence. But you can always turn around and say, hey, that wasn't violent rhetoric at all. He just wanted to debate people. He just wanted to... No, he didn't. He didn't care about opposing perspective. You can say political violence is completely unacceptable. I certainly believe that. Okay, you can say the images that you saw were gruesome and abhorrent. I certainly believe that. Okay, but you don't have to lie. But of course, that's all what these guys do. Is all that these guys do is just lie about this shit. And no, I don't think this is a cover-up for the Qatar bombing, dude. There's no need for a cover-up for Israel's unlimited belligerence, okay? It's very clear that America is not going to stop Israel at any point. They don't need to actually shelter the public from finally recognizing that, like, you know, this is Israel is an unstable nation. Okay, it's okay. In certain instances, like, you know, Things are happening at all times. Two things can happen at the same time. It's fine. It's not always a conspiracy to direct your attention back to something else. Right has perpetrated 100% of the lethal U.S. political assassinations in the last 20 years. Includes all politically motivated attempts to kill or state or federal officials. Brett Kavanaugh scouted home. Steve Scalise shooting at the baseball game. Donald Trump tried to grab officer's gun. I mean, this doesn't have Donald Trump. Oh, scouted off golf course. Yeah, even the fucking shooting at the campaign rally. When did Trump try to grab a cop's gun? I guess someone tried to grab a cop's gun around Donald Trump or something. Holy fuck, the Yankees held a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. Kirk founded the youth activist group Turning Point USA and had become a fixture on college campuses. Bro, the right dominates our fucking politics so aggressively. I mean, how can you look at this? I mean, how can you look at this and see anything else? They didn't even do this for a Democrat politician that got assassinated, you know? Like not even like a influencer, a political commentator. They didn't do this for a Democrat politician that got assassinated. There is no way. There is no way in which, like, I'm telling you, like, there is no, maybe for like Anderson Cooper would they do such a thing, you know? If a similar tragedy unfolded, but I don't know. Yeah, youth activist group. Stripping its ideological convictions of all of its meat until it's just a right-wing activist with a youth group.
Together, but just how close were they?
Look, Charlie Kirk was a singular person in the Trump movement. He was in many ways a beating heart of the MAGA movement and very close personally to Donald Trump himself and particularly to the Trump children, especially Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. just a short while ago put out a lengthy statement about somebody he described as my friend Charlie Kirk, but he was more than my friend. He was more like a brother to me. And you saw that. They were often together. They traveled together. Their families were engaged together. He was more than just a pro-Trump activist. He was central to the Trump movement and also very close personally to the Trumps.
All right, Jonathan Karl, our thanks to you. Tonight, the president is asking that flags be flown at half-staff, and there are calls from Republicans and Democrats alike tonight to turn the temperature down in this country to stop the political violence. Mary Bruce joins us now live from the White House. Mary, we know that the Secret Service is not taking any chances tonight. Tell us about the level of security President Trump is now under.
Well, Lindsay, Secret Service tonight is trying to reassure the American public that they adjust their posture to respond to any evolving threats and making it clear that the president, as president, does have the highest level of protection. Of course, President
They're
Trump
lynching
himself
anyone who brings up
surviving
Charlie
assassination
Kirk's
attempts
actual deeds in his rhetoric. Even the most liberal media is on their knees kissing his feet.
to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a full-blown capitulation to right framing on every issue. I mean, it makes sense. It's a tragic incident. So
mentioned on both sides of the aisle tonight, these bipartisan condemnations, strong
it is kind of wild, though, that there's no half mass for the flags when it comes to like school shootings and shit.
President Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and also from Kamala Harris, who of course faced off with Donald Trump in that bitter race, a race in which Charlie Kirk played a pivotal role. Harris saying, quote, "Let me be clear, political violence has no place in America," adding, "We all must work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." Lindsay.
And Mary, we've heard that there were reports of the president. We know that he ventured out, went out to eat last night. Have they curtailed activities for the president today?
Well, the president cleared his schedule this afternoon after this horrific shooting, mostly just so that he could monitor what was going on. As we've discussed, they were incredibly close. The president was expected to have a dinner here at the Rose Garden with cabinet secretaries and other officials. That was scrapped. The president tomorrow is still expected of the anniversary of 9/11, but the president personally monitoring this all afternoon. As we've been discussing, they were incredibly close, not just politically, but also personally, Lindsay.
All right, thanks so much. Mary Bruce reporting from the White House. And we'll, of course, stay stay on top of this shooting and bring you any more developments as soon as we get them. But we are tracking other news straight ahead. Police race to yet another school shooting in America. What we're learning about any casualties and the search for a suspect.
Nothing about that looked accidental.
Lester! We found a secret room in the Laconia. The mob ran an illegal casino.
There's been this palace down here the whole time.
To be fair, I just found out this building has a gym. I play cards here because it's the murder building. We need to go face to face with the mob.
I didn't realize there's ad breaks on the fucking YouTube live streams. That's crazy. Is 9/11 tomorrow too? I know. Sure glad that former governor of New York tried to fucking posterize me as the face of 9/11 in order to get a dig at his opposition yesterday. Fantastic stuff. Oh yeah, Parker was at the event apparently.
Hey everyone, I just got word that Charlie Kirk is dead. I was at the event and I was 30 to 40 feet away and I heard the gunshot.
That's so fucking crazy.
And I was so terrified. Everyone started running. I honestly, I wasn't sure if it was a gunshot in the beginning, but I assumed and I thought that it was likely that it was a mass shooting or something like that. And I just started running, and all the people around me started running their hardest, and there were people dry heaving and throwing up and crying due to everything because it's fucking scary. And we heard for a bit that he was in critical condition and that he was alive, but he was just pronounced dead recently, according to the Washington Post. It's so fucking scary. It's so scary. And I really just wish the people in the comment section, because I looked at some of the comments of my video. It's so hard for me to deal with. I looked at some of the comments from the video and they're not worried about my safety, or they're not worried about anyone's safety there. They're trying to justify it. And I just want people to know that.
This is Parker. He's one of the liberal debate guys. He was there. These guys, him and Dean, they follow Charlie Kirk around. And they try to debate him. When he does these, when he used to do these change my mind videos and stuff like that. I'll be honest, bro. I mean, it's a traumatic incident, dude. He was there, It's just, it's understandable that he would feel some type of way. I think you would be traumatized too, even if you fucking despise Charlie Kirk.
Charlie's family, his daughter, is going to live without a dad. His wife is going to live without a husband. And that's not okay. And that's horrible. And no one should be justifying that. And any single person that's in the comment section that is saying that or who does believe that, I want you to unfollow me and unsubscribe to me right now, because there's a clear line of division between us. And I don't support you. And I think what you believe is fucking horrible. And my thoughts and wishes go out to Charlie's family and anyone who was there and traumatized, honestly, how I am. It is honestly genuinely terrifying.
Seeing someone die on video and in real life in front of you is not the same shit. Chad doesn't get it. Yeah. I mean, he could have been fucking domed there. He was there. You know what I mean? He was right there. He's probably in shock. Look, like I said, the reason there are of course a fuck ton of people who are on the right who would absolutely celebrate a role reversal style situation. Hopefully we never get to experience it. Okay. And of course there's going to be people who are liberals who have the same kind of attitude. I can't expect people to look at this guy if the only output that they've seen of him is just spewing bile, That's it. Especially if you just see people as just people that you see on camera. If you see them as not real human beings, but instead as just beacons of vectors of hate or beacons of political ideology, it's I get where that comes from. Who was the reverse target? You? Yeah, I mean, yes. But I think for him, it's just he was there, so it's a little bit different.
To have literally someone die within 30 to 40 feet of you that you've interacted with, that you've engaged with. And I don't like Charlie Kirk as a person. I don't like the ideology.
Yeah, I mean, he's a horrible, monstrous person, or was a horrible, monstrous person. That's why I'm not going to sit here and launder his reputation or anything like that. You know, you can look at an act of violence and say, well, that's not great, and especially the impact of this action is going to be. I hope I'm wrong for this, but I hope I'm wrong in this assessment. But I do think that it's going to be far more consequential. But having said that, you know, a lot of people are actively laundering his reputation in real time on the liberal side too. And I guess that's a very liberal position to have. For me, it's like, this is why I always say my advocacy is for universal policies, because I believe that everyone deserves healthcare, for example. Everyone deserves a leg up. Everyone deserves not to be a part of, everyone deserves not to experience the financial struggles that cripple them, that destroy them. Okay? Everyone means everyone. Universality means every single person, including people who you despise. Because the goal should always be to improve material conditions to a certain degree where that kind of attitude is seen as like unsustainable. That kind of attitude is seen as ridiculous by all. So for me, it's like, you know, while this is a tragic incident, you know, I'm not going to sit here and launder his reputation. Of course, Chris Rufo is immediately. The last time the radical left orchestrated a wave of violence and terror, J. Edgar Hoover shut it down all within a few years. It is time, within the confines of the law, to infiltrate, disrupt, arrest, and incarcerate all of those who are responsible for this chaos. Like, I cannot begin to explain this enough. Why has no one said Melissa Hortman's name? Chatter, if you keep spamming it a million times over in the one community where Melissa Hortman's name has been mentioned in this process, I'm sure you will get the message across. Please, I already talked about this, okay? I brought it up numerous times. Chatter. Please stop spamming. Anyway, once again, even if this was literally like a radical Antifa shooter, okay, even if it comes out that the suspect's motives were like that they are a radical Antifa shooter, this kind of reaction, this kind of retaliation is insane. Okay, Moldman did a video and the comments are all calling for Dem/leftists to be killed. Exactly. People love saying like, oh man, this kind of violent rhetoric is going so far. Meanwhile, on the right, they're just like fantasizing about how they're going to assassinate every leftist and liberal.
Was there covering it. And Emily, it was a huge crowd. We understand at least 3,000. I mean, what was it like in the moments just before the shooting as you were there?
You know, I was standing among a group of mostly college-aged kids. There were a lot of folks who were pretty excited, big fans of Charlie Kirk, excited to see him there answering questions. There were also folks who clearly weren't students, adults with their kids in tow, and also just, you know, students who were onlookers. There were a number of students who were there counter-protesting with counter-messaging, holding up signs. But generally, the majority of the crowd were supporters of Charlie Kirk. And, you know, there were chants of Trump, USA. And a lot of people who'd come who were either university students from this area or who'd traveled from other parts of Utah just to see him.
So it sounds like you say mostly college students, but others that did come from other places, including people with children. I mean, so mostly college, but a diverse crowd in that sense. Then when this happened, the question happens on transgender shootings, right? And right after that question is when he was shot. Did you realize immediately what had even happened?
Immediately after we had heard the gunshot, everyone hit the ground. I initially wasn't sure if it was a prank or it was real. There were screams, and then we saw police officers coming with their hands on their weapons. And I realized, okay, this is serious. Initially, after I heard the shot, you know, I went to the ground with everyone else. And as soon as I looked back at the table where Charlie Kirk was seated, he was gone. So really didn't realize what had happened until I started talking to some of the attendees who had seen what had happened, had seen him be shot.
Emily, I appreciate your time and thank you very much for sharing that. I know, reliving it's difficult, so thank you. Alyssa Farrah-Griffin is here with me, Ellie Reeve and David Axelrod. And Alyssa, you knew Charlie Kirk. You both came up, in the Republican Party. Obviously, different political views over time, right? But you knew him. What was your reaction to this as you see this today? You're looking at your phone, you go, oh my God.
It's devastating. Like, even just hearing you say it, that Charlie Kirk has passed and that he was assassinated, that we're saying those words is shocking. He was a huge figure in Republican politics. He was a little younger than me. He came up under me. And I remember thinking when he hit the scene, it was like, who is this young guy who's going to college campuses, engaging people directly, and he's really energizing Republicans to feel like on college campuses, when they're minority voices, they can speak up. There are going to be devastating.
This is not going to lead to gun control.
With this loss. And listen, I'm just thinking of his family. I'm thinking of his friends. He was 31.
This is not going to lead to gun control. If you think that it's going to lead to gun control, you're wrong.
And I'm thinking also of the West Wing right now.
They didn't lead to gun control after Steve Scalise was fucking shot at the congressional baseball game. And that dude had actively pushed for legislation that ended up unironically harming him. Like, he was a A-ranked NRA A-ranked congressperson. So I don't think it'll go anywhere for gun control at all. I think this will be utilized by the administration to enact unimaginable political repression for those who they have designed, who they have designated as enemies of the state, leftists.
The left has been saying put a bullseye on Trump, a bullseye on his supporters.
Charlie Kirk's a casualty of war. We're in this country. We are.
They are at war with us.
Yeah,
whether we want to accept it or
look,
not,
you see that?
they are at
this
war
is good.
with
This
us.
is good coverage.
And what are
This
we
is
gonna
good
do
coverage.
about it?
Talk about the fucking violent rhetoric, you know?
Ellie, you wanted to go cover Charlie on this tour next week, actually, because he was going across the country, college to college. You've interviewed him. What are you learning from his supporters now when we hear things like that from people like Steve Bannon and Alex Jones?
Yeah,
Fox
there's
News?
basically two types of reactions. First, there's horrified, speechless. People who professionally speak for a living are afraid to talk. Like Candace Owens didn't have her show tonight. A publicist for conservative activists told me people were too devastated to speak. CJ Pearson, a conservative influencer, told me the conversation among other influencers was like, is it too dangerous to do this work? Mm-hmm. The other reaction is, this is an escalation of political violence. There's going to be more. One guy told me it would be very, very bad for the left when the right actually was provoked into responding. They see it as a very one-sided battle.
David, with the context of history, how precarious is this moment?
I just don't think this is going to scare
I think
like
it's very
far right figures into submission or not speaking. If anything, this is going to stop leftists and liberals from doing any sort of public incidents, because these guys are screaming bloody murder all over the fucking internet.
And you mentioned history. I was a kid when we went through a period of assassination in the 1960s. I remember when Martin Luther King was killed, Robert went onto the streets of Indianapolis. He was a candidate for president at that time, and it was very, very dangerous, frankly, for him to be out there, but he insisted on going, and he spoke to the crowd. And Aaron, he finished, and I wanted to share this, he finished with a poem by Aeschylus, the ancient Greek poet, and it was, even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God. The question is, have we seen enough to embrace wisdom here and recognize that this is not a path that we want to go as a country? And let's be clear, I heard what those folks said.
Charlie Kirk being compared to Martin Luther King. What is happening, bro? What am I like? Do these guys also not understand like this level of heavy-handed, this kind of like heavy-handed posturing is unironically is playing a formative role in laundering his ideology as like a normal one, a good one, a positive force.
And he said, Jack, I'm never going to quit.
He knew about the security too, because he says, hey, I can't get too much security because it cuts me off from the young people. Yeah. It cuts me off from the crowd.
Right, and that's why today.
Yes, there's mad people who have reached out for comments on this. Every media outlet has.
That's not the environment he wanted. And you spoke to someone at Turning Point USA about the threats. What did they tell you?
Yeah, I talked to Rob Smith, who used to work at Turning Point with Charlie, and he said that they knew threats, they were just constant and daily. He said that every major conservative influencer speaking at that level gets constant threats. And it's really just chilling to know that. I mean, what people said when I talked to them was like, they get lots of people saying horrible things to them online all the time, and they don't know who's a keyboard warrior and who's actually capable of violence.
Right. I mean, that's the terrifying thing. Alyssa, let me just play some of the things that Kirk has said, right? So people can understand more about him, right? And I had mentioned earlier, there were times when he challenged Trump, for example, on Epstein, right? He really wanted more transparency on Epstein. But obviously, in most issues, he was really at the front lines of what Trump wanted to put out there. And for those who aren't that familiar with him, let me just play some of Charlie.
We need to keep the pressure on these universities. While young people are moving dramatically to the right, I see this on my college campus tour, which is kicking off again on Wednesday in Utah. These universities themselves, the institutions, they are not adapting the way they should. Parents need to act accordingly. Alumni need to act accordingly. Board of directors, lawmakers, we need to start defunding these schools if they continue to defy President Trump's amazing executive orders.
Just a few days ago, right? That was just a few days ago. And he's so young, as a husband and a father. But that was his political point of view, right? Like that is what he's out there saying.
Yeah, and Gen Z is going to be the most right-wing generation in 50 years. Statistically speaking, there was a huge turnout of youth voters for Donald Trump. That was unexpected, something that's usually a Democratic stronghold. There's probably no individual more responsible for that than Charlie Kirk. You really can't underestimate and downplay how influential he was in activating young people and how hand in hand he was working with the Trump campaign to turn out younger voters. And I would just say this, echoing what David said.
He was a father and a husband is the nicest thing you can say about him, which is why everyone is repeating it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm like I said, I'm a little biased.
Keyboard warrior, he wasn't threatening people. That is how
You missed the point. After MLK got shot, RFK got shot 2 months later, he was stating that the political violence begets more political violence. Yeah, except
acolytes who were taking it
neither of those figures are comparable to Charlie Kirk.
What happens now?
And also, those figures are not like antagonistic either.
That's a very good question, and it goes back to what we were talking about before.
Actually, as a matter of fact, it shows a similar pattern. Anyway, I don't know. You all right, man? No, I'm not all right.
On that, as we look at Charlie Kirk's vast.
I don't know how to communicate how I don't know how to communicate in this moment, because it's like how do you feel as though how can you communicate that a violent act is unacceptable while simultaneously not offer sympathies to the person who was killed in the process? You know what I mean? Because I don't think anybody deserves this in general. I don't think anyone deserves this. Nobody deserves that. That's always been my position. So it's a problem for so many different. It's a problem that contains multitudes, right? Where, and I said this in the aftermath of Luigi Mangione allegedly shooting and killing Brian Thompson as well. Like this kind of decentralized, violent initiatives taken on by adventurists are reflected on in the way that they are reflected on because it is a pressure valve, okay? And they only happen in the absence of real political change that people are desperate for. Does that make sense? You understand? It's like I want to fix this system so that never happens. It's just I don't know how to I don't know if I'm doing the best job explaining it. But even from the aspect of gun control, before we arrive at all of the other unimaginably cruel and violent things that Charlie Kirk has advocated for, while still sheltering himself from coming across as like truly a violent individual, because he's just demanding more of that same kind of permissible form of violence, systematic forms of cruelty. Even on the aspect of gun control or a lack of gun control, like his advocacy on the matter was to distract away from real reasonable solutions, to to put the crosshairs back on vulnerable populations, marginalized populations, claim that it's like trans shooters that are doing, like that was the last thing that he was debating before he got killed. A victim to his own advocacy in many ways. And that advocacy has caused so much death and so much destruction, you know? What? Why are you sending me this link? That's a crazy link, dude. That's a crazy link. You said breaking, and then you sent me one of the craziest things, dude, that I've ever seen about who the potential person of interest is. I mean, I don't know if that's the case or not, but goddamn, just like dial it back for a second, you know? Yeah, he died mid-sentence claiming how most shootings were gang-related and gun control wasn't needed. Yeah, columnist for Fox News, I know, but like that's... We don't know yet. How have they not confirmed a shooter yet? There's a person of interest, but they don't know. They don't know if they're conducting more investigations right now.
Kids are feeling the effects of what we like to call, with the Washington economy, with a lot of debt, plummeting small business, with higher regulation and high taxes.
When he did not get into West Point, Kirk dropped out of college and turned to political activism with a fury.
Universities are not about the pursuit of knowledge.
If it's that guy that the person presented as, then it's a person that works for the Heritage Foundation. That sounds insane.
That is rooted in bigotry, trying to classify people based on their skin color. If a woman is going to have an abortion, is it 50% the man's decision?
His outspoken ways drew a huge following and fierce opposition.
How do you feel about being called a fascist? What's your opinion on that?
I don't care being lied about.
Why is it a lie?
Because I'm not a fascist. I believe in a free society. Let me ask you, who's the fascist? The guy that's smiling in the sun, or the 500 people barking trying to prevent...
Wow. What an expert debate. Yeah. If I'm a fascist, well, I'm smiling.
More.
How does that...
In order
you didn't even
to create more conservatives
that's not a counter
and more
narrative.
people who love the country, you need to have the 3 M's. Young people need to get married, they need to mate, and get a mortgage.
Bro, these are literally
The 3
some
M's
of
are
the
3
most,
things
like, the least
Democrat
offensive
Party is
things they can
against.
find of Charlie Kirk, by the way.
All of his really extremist views.
Like,
in the political...
you had a bunch of CNN producers scour the internet to try and find perhaps the best liberal-facing Charlie Kirk clips. That was it. It was a short compilation, and that was it. You cannot tell me that that wasn't a deliberate attempt to try to make him look. What? The subject in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues, and we will continue to release information in the interest of transparency. Oh my God. Ain't no fucking way. Dude. Oh, dude, what the fuck? Brother. Is he talking about George Zinn, or is he talking about the new guy? Bro, there is what? Some might say the shooter never existed, I guess. Are they going to find a guy? Patel is just in a time warp. He's releasing the news that is hours old. Actually kind of funny. No shot. No shot. What the fuck? Stop sending me that Carol link, please. Yo, what is crazy about this? What is crazy about this process is, like, I can't tell if they're just, like, so incompetent. How is this possible? Red state, by the way. Maybe Trump should be sending the National Guard to red states. Seemingly, the law enforcement operation there is not up to snuff. What the fuck? I can't believe it, dude. Wow. It's fucking real bad out here, dude.
Hey, stop, folks, stop.
Charlie Kirk died a short time later. He was 31. He was a husband and a father of 2 young children. The president announced his death online. He wrote, the great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth.
The second guy they arrested was wearing completely different clothing from the police scanner in the roof video, but was only 2.5 miles away when they arrested him and apparently had a gun on his dash. Are you fucking kidding me? So you mean to tell me Utah cops went and arrested the first Utah guy with a fucking long barrel rifle? It's Utah. It's an open carry state. What do you mean? You're literally, you have to arrest everyone in Utah, I guess. What the fuck? Dude, yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit. The guy, there was a, wow, you mean to tell me there was a guy with a fucking hunting rifle in a 3-mile radius of a shooting at any given moment in the state of Utah? This is the second guy that they've apprehended and released now, by the way. The first guy that they apprehended and released, they didn't even release, by the way. The first guy they actually still kept in jail for obstruction of justice, even though he wasn't the right guy at all. And he was very clearly a dude experiencing like a mental health episode. These two posts are the most embarrassing thing I've seen from an FBI director. So this is the guy that they fucking arrested. And it's a pellet gun with a silencer on it. Ruger Yukon Magnum 177 pellet. Oh, it's not even a silencer. It's just a pellet gun that has this thing on it. Okay, look, I don't traffic in Gladio. You're smiling in your thumbnail. Change it. What thumbnail am I smiling in? What? I don't make these thumbnails, by the way. My editors do, but what are you talking about? Is it like a fucking random fan account or something? Or you mean my Twitch thumbnail? It looks like a smirk. Okay, you guys are fucking crazy. I think that's called a muzzle brake. I don't know why we would need it on a pellet. Second suspect released. Shooter still at large. Alex Jones drops a car vid. Bro, I was going to say, listen to me. Listen, I'm not like Mr., domestic Gladio, but god damn, dude, this has the fucking fixins of a domestic Gladio. If they can't find a fucking suspect, what are we doing here? Holy shit. It's actually wild, dude. Like, numerous people actually see the shadowy figure on a rooftop. He just gets away scot-free. Motherfuckers in Mexico by now. What the hell? It's been more than 1.5 hours. Nothing has been leaked about the so-called subject in the Charlie Kirk shooting. Only thing so far is they have a 25-year-old person of interest. Also didn't have helicopters up, so they aren't searching. Like, I don't even know what the weapon that was used. What was the weapon that was used? What was the bullet? I don't know about the no helis thing. Okay, just calm down. That's just like a random Twitter account. But like, listen to my words. Did they say what it was?